Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the fourth ever edition of VGR Lockdown. I am your host, Double A Ron, along with my cousin Steven. How you feeling, Steve?
Doing great, man. Doing great.
Okay, that's good. We got a lot to get into. We got SmackDown coming up. The U.S. tournament. For one, is Dolph Ziggler really done? Is he out the U.S. title picture? Or is it going to be one of those things where someone wins and he comes back like, no, I'm the real U.S. champion, and tries to fight them? How do you think that's going to turn up?
I don't know. I mean, it really has been a big question. Is Dolph Ziggler done? It seems like every year, though, we go through this whole, is Dolph Ziggler done? Is he re-signing? Is he retiring? What's next for him? It's... You know, I'm kind of getting tired of the Dolph Ziggler watch. But as far as, hopefully he's not done. But if he's not done yet, hopefully they have something for him. I'm not sure if I would want to see the whole, oh yeah, I wasn't really gone, I'm the real U.S. I'm not sure if I want to see that storyline or not. However, if he isn't done, unfortunately, I mean, that's what they'd have to go with is, you know, him being... I'm the real U.S. champion, and unfortunately, as much as he tries to mimic Shawn Michaels, the reason why I'm afraid of them going ahead with that storyline is more than likely that means that at WrestleMania, he's going to probably try to do a ladder match for the United States title if they drag it out that long. If not, I think they do it at Fastlane. But I don't know if I want to see him continue to do his whole Shawn Michaels mimic.
Yeah, well, honestly, I hope he is done. I hope he goes to the indie scene. And I think he'll do good on the indie scene. And he'd probably get paid more. He'd probably be happier. And, like look at Cody Rhodes. I mean, Cody Rhodes is having a hell of a year. And Kenny Omega loves the indie scene so much, I don't even know if he wants to come to the WWE no more. So, people say, like, oh, Jack Swagger said he was going to do this in the indie scene and he didn't do nothing. Well, Dolph Ziggler is far more talented than Jack Swagger ever was or ever will be. And I'm sorry. But Dolph Ziggler has a lot of talent. I think he'll be better off where he could give a little bit more freedom and depth to his character. And as far as who I would want, I'm really disappointed that Rusev wasn't in the U.S. Championship tournament. But you explained to me that who did I want him to lose to? And the answer is nobody. So I'd rather him just stay out of it and let English just win the lose, take the pinfall instead of Rusev. But I am disappointed that he wasn't in the tournament.
I mean, forget about who's not in the tournament. In this tournament, it seems like the standouts for the tournament, starting off, is Bobby Roode and Jinder Mahal.
That's who's going to win. That's who's going to fight each other.
But who do you think? So I mean, you know, no disrespect to Xavier Woods, who's also in the tournament. I mean, everyone else seemed like filler. You got Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder, and then of course you got the last match was going to be Xavier Woods and Aiden English. Who do you think is going to win, Roode or Jinder?
I would go with Roode. They might want to go with Jinder because they want to they have this new thing. I don't know why, but they have this new thing. They try people out as champions too early before they can get established. They say, oh wow, that was a flop. Let's put the U.S. title on them for now and see if they could recover from that. And then maybe they'll get built back up to show they're ready for the main event scene. They've done it a lot, and I think that's what they're going to try to do with Jinder Mahal. So it's probably going to be Jinder, and they're going to try to have Bobby Roode chase Jinder Mahal. But I think they should go with Bobby Roode. And because I don't want to see Bobby Roode versus Jinder Mahal at WrestleMania for the title. So I think that's what's going to happen, is they're going to give the Jinder, and he's going to hold the title as this guy, this foreign heel, death to America, blah, 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 all that stupid stuff he's going to do. And then it's going to be some baby face and knock him off at WrestleMania. Or he's going to lose in the ladder match. I'm not sure yet. We'll see.
You know, it's funny. For me, I'd say it's a tough call. I feel like both Bobby Roode and Jinder Mahal are kind of in that... it's a must-win situation for both of them. It's going into WrestleMania season. Coming out with the belt is definitely big for both of them. With Bobby Roode, I mean, he's been on the main roster for at least half a year now, and he really hasn't done much. So winning the U.S. title for him would cement his purpose on the roster. Same thing with Jinder Mahal. He, for the better part of last year, he was the champ. And, he's lost the belt. So the fact that he was just champion, he needs some sort of direction. And similar to like with them putting the IC title on Roman Reigns, putting the U.S. title on Jinder Mahal once again, it helps him restore some credibility, especially since the jury is still out just on him being WWE champion. Hopefully, if they do put the belt on Jinder, they don't necessarily go the whole full blown out I hate America rant. But if I had to pick between the two of them, it would have to be Jinder. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. Like I said, it's something that I'm interested in. But either way, I wouldn't be too angry. I'd much rather have Jinder Mahal as a U.S. champion than WWE champion. And Bobby Roode is a guy who, I've been following for a while. So hopefully he'd be one of those guys that have direction. Hopefully he's not like another Austin Aries, that they'll actually try to, go far with Bobby Roode. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully that turns out good. But we got another person who I wanted to talk about was one of the greatest managers, in my opinion, of all time, definitely of my generation, and Paul Heyman. What's going on with him, man? It used to be a time where everything Paul Heyman said, you just look forward to it. Now, it just feels kind of boring. Like you don't really care as much. Like, does Paul Heyman need to do something different to his character?
I wouldn't say that he's boring. I have to disagree with.
I'm not saying he's boring, but it's just not like as exciting as he once was. Is what I'm saying.
I don't even know. It's not even an excitement thing. Anytime you get a Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman segment, it's always exciting because it's always entertaining. They never actually let you down. I will say though, at this point in time, going on, what has it been, 3 years now? I feel like they're running the risk of this becoming stale, and I think part of it has to do completely with how they've booked Brock Lesnar for the last year since he's been champion. They've ran a couple one-on-one matches, but then they've been running a whole bunch of multi-man matches. And despite the fact that Paul Heyman has excellent mic skills, timing, when he gets out there and he starts talking about the match, he's definitely still getting you interested in the match. But just as a regular viewer, it feels like it's gotten to a point where he's pretty much saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. Just the saving grace is that it's entertaining. But I'm not, it's, what do you think? Is he? Do you feel like he's becoming stale, or?
I can't say that it's been a long period where I felt like that, but I think last night it was definitely a little off. Like that, I didn't feel that same impact from a Paul Heyman promo like I usually do last night. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see if he stays consistent and, could really be unique. But I think, it'd be fun to see him try to manage somebody else for a little bit. Or, I'll say this. When Brock Lesnar feuded with Samoa Joe, and Samoa Joe choked out Paul Heyman, I didn't feel like he was stale, because that was something different. That was something, more like something better to progress a storyline. But usually it's the same old thing. Paul Heyman talks trash, Paul Heyman's there to back him up. But they do some stuff that's a little different with Paul Heyman. He don't need to change his stick. Just the story writing around Paul Heyman needs to change a little bit, since they don't want to change it with Brock. I think that'd be the major difference, though. But that's one thing that made the Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar feud so great, is how that whole segment with him and Paul Heyman. So if they could kind of do a little bit more stuff like that. Everybody doesn't have to beat up Paul Heyman, but just do something a little different outside of Paul Heyman just stands in the ring and talks trash, and Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar just jumps around. And then you get a brawl from time to time. Just to do something a little different. I think he'll be all right. But we'll see how much time he has.
You said something interesting. You said potentially hooking Paul Heyman up with somebody else other than Brock Lesnar. Foregoing, of course, whoever that would be, more than likely would be Paul Heyman turning on Brock and lining himself up with somebody else. Who would you want that to be?
If that means Braun Strowman could win the title, I would go with Braun. Because the thing is, I have to trust that they're gonna write or book the person well. Like, for example, I was really excited for, and we're gonna hop into, and that's a perfect segue. This person, Cesaro, I was really excited when Paul Heyman became Cesaro's manager. I was like, man, this is cool. He's a good worker. Now he has one of the best managers of all time sponsoring him. This should be great. And it sucked. It sucked because the focus was still, Brock Lesnar beat The Undertaker. Brock Lesnar beat The Undertaker. And it was all about Brock Lesnar. And Cesaro never got, promoted like he should have. Never even got a chance to overcome the beast and say that I'm just going to go solo. Everything about that was not good. And he didn't even promote Cesaro to seem like a big deal. So that's what I'm saying. If it has to be someone like Braun Strowman or Samoa Joe, someone who I feel like is overall protected enough that if they go with Paul Heyman, that they're going to feel really important.
You know what? Actually, I think we kind of both agree on this. If they did link somebody up with Paul Heyman outside of Brock Lesnar, yeah, I agree. Cesaro would be the great person. Because you talked about how they were linked up in the past. I don't think it sucked, and the reason why I don't think it sucked is because it was so short that I don't even find it. I tend to forget that ever happened. Because I think with both Cesaro and, if my memory serves me right, I think Curtis Axel was also a Paul Heyman guy.
A lot of people. So was Ryback.
But yeah, and Ryback, and they never went anywhere. It was announced and it lasted a week or two, but then it just abruptly stopped and fizzled out.
It lasted a couple months, and that's what I'm telling you. It sucks, Steven, is because that should have been a ploy that launched Cesaro into the main event, at least an upper mid-carder, or at least an established, reliable single star. And it didn't do that. And he never promoted Cesaro to be anything. He just left. And Cesaro just left Paul Heyman's side without so much of a breaking up segment, segment. They just said, I'm not with Paul no more. I want to try to be an authority member. That's why I say it sucked. Like, when they first got together, it was a huge pop, and I loved it, and I was excited. But the worst thing about a story to me is if you don't follow through with a story. If you just go through a story and then halfway through, fuck it, I don't want to do it no more. The story sucks. Even if it starts off great. If you could take the best movies of all time, like you could take The Godfather or something, and if you just go through half that movie and just say, we're just gonna end it here, it's not gonna be good. So that's what I'm saying. That's why it sucked. It's the way it ended, and it ended without any type of story, any type of writing, nothing. It just stopped. So that's why I think it sucked. But them getting together was cool for when it lasted, and then the way they booked it and wrote it, and even Paul Heyman talked about it. He said that was the issue with Cesaro is I had to promote Brock Lesnar this whole time. And I didn't get a chance to promote Cesaro. So Cesaro didn't feel special at all because I had to talk about Brock Lesnar beating the streak. So they put me with Cesaro the day after WrestleMania after Undertaker lost the streak to Brock Lesnar. So it just makes Cesaro feel less important because I had to keep talking about that while I was on TV. So I don't know. We'll see. I think that I wouldn't want to see that right now. But
so still on the topic of Cesaro. Do you feel like it is too late for him to actually become WWE or Universal Champion?
I don't, man. I feel like they have to book him. He's a great in-ring worker. And it's a lot of smart fans, and they love in-ring workers. Vince McMahon has this idea that everybody has to be the Rock and Stone Cold on the mic. And that's not true. Cesaro, Chris Benoit made it. He had a run with the belt. He wasn't no great. Oh, I'm not supposed to say his name? That's why you laughing? This is our show. We're going to say Chris Benoit. That's Chris Benoit, man. Hell of a worker. We're not going to talk about that other stuff, though. But, Cesaro didn't have to have great mic skills and have to talk or be Hulk Hogan on the mic. But everybody respects his in-ring ability. He still got a good pop from the crowd. He had a Cesaro section. I think that if Vince McMahon, just gave up the company to Triple H completely, and Triple H had to say so, I think Triple H would actually give Cesaro that nod, at least give him a run with the belt. I mean, honestly, what in the hell does Jinder Mahal have over Cesaro?
Jinder's on SmackDown.
Just talking about the individual talent. If Jinder Mahal could win the WWE champion, because you can't even say mic skills. Because Cesaro, I mean, I think Cesaro could have cut a better promo if he was given that same spot and he took that mouthpiece out of his mouth. I think he could cut just as good as promo as Jinder ever did, probably better. And he's way better of a worker. So I'm not understanding that, but yeah, I think Cesaro can definitely get a rub. But Vince McMahon, that's why I say he's out of touch at times. Oh, he doesn't get over because he's Swiss. Oh, I don't agree with booking. Booking didn't have nothing to do with him. Oh, he doesn't have the ambition. How doesn't Cesaro have the ambition? I don't get it. So, oh, he's not charismatic. People love Cesaro. Even as a heel right now, people love Cesaro. And that thing and if you notice, something that a lot of people have been talking about is every single tag team that he's been with has been fantastic. And it's even in situations where you would think like, they're just going to throw these guys together. They're not going to work. They're not going to have no good chemistry. If you think about it, Jack Swagger, that was the best work of Jack Swagger's career was with Cesaro. If you look at, what's Tyson Kidd, the best tag team he was with, the most entertaining tag team and work of his career was with Cesaro. And now you look at Sheamus. This is the best, most entertainment I've ever seen from Sheamus. This is like the best work he's done was in this tag team with Cesaro. So that's not by coincidence. So Cesaro got a lot of talent with him, a lot more charisma than what WWE gives him credit for, or Vince McMahon gives him credit for. And Cesaro has a lot of big names that's sponsoring him. John Cena said he felt Cesaro should be champ. So did Stone Cold. So did The Rock. So did a lot of the main main eventers on the roster. So it's just Vince. I think it's Vince.
All right, last Cesaro question.
Okay.
At some point he's definitely going to have his own singles run again, because I know the time is starting to probably wind down on Sheamus' career, but we won't go too much into that. But Cesaro, should he stay on Raw? Or should he go to SmackDown?
Got to go to SmackDown. That's better. They're better known for their work, which will benefit him a lot more than doing 20-minute promos on Raw. And like they have talent, but the talent pool isn't as steep and as deep. And he could beat people and it'd be more believable. Like I could see him beating AJ Styles. I could see him beating, I wouldn't want that, but I could see him beating Jinder Mahal, Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler, Baron Corbin, and people believe it. I can't believe him beating Brock Lesnar right now. I can't believe it. I would want him to. He's strong enough. I want him to have a match, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't want him to beat Braun Strowman. I couldn't believe him beating Roman Reigns. I couldn't even believe him beating Seth Rollins. So that's the difference. I think he should go to SmackDown. What you think?
The way things are, on Raw, the focus is going to be Brock as long as he's around, and it's going to be the Shield. So SmackDown is definitely the land of opportunity. You see that with Jinder Mahal becoming champion and being the champion for a better part of the year. Despite the fact that it wasn't that great, Bray Wyatt got his first WWE title run on SmackDown as well. Cesaro would definitely do well. It more than likely is going to help that he would also be around a lot of people that he came up with. Yeah. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan, despite the fact that he's not working as a wrestler right now. So moving on. You know what? I know how much you hate her guts.
Oh, man.
I know. So just based on your intense dislike of her, I got to know, do you really believe that Stephanie McMahon is the worst character on WWE television? And if you do, why?
Not even just now. I believe within the last 10 years, she's been the worst character. Not 10, my fault. I say 6. About 6 years. She came in around 2012, and that's when her character really took on this character arc that I really did not like. I feel like she doesn't get people over. I feel like she buries people. I feel like she makes people look really foolish. I feel like she doesn't get her comeuppance. I think that her character, from everything that I've seen, is supposed to be based off of Mr. McMahon, the Mr. McMahon character. But the problem with that is Mr. McMahon used to humiliate himself and he peed on himself on national TV. Like, he would do anything to get his talent over. And I know you're probably going to say, oh, well, he only did it for the top stars. I mean, that's Stone Cold. That's The Rock. He let Rikishi rub his stinky-ass booty in his face.
He had no choice. I mean, when you remember the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't have people kissing your ass if you can't take that.
Yeah. He had Zach Gowen hit him in a chair in the head with his one leg. He everybody would be able to get their comeuppance against the Mr. McMahon character. And with Stephanie, no one does. She made Bayley admit that she's not a worthy champion, and then she proved it. She slapped pretty much all the top wrestlers in the company and for no reason. Then she slapped the legend of Ric Flair. Then, verbally just berated Charlotte for firing the dude she slapped 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, it's just stuff like that. And then it's like the thing with Mankind, who's a hardcore legend. She emasculated him and fired him. And then Kurt Angle. The best thing about 2017 to me for Raw, the reason why Raw has been better this year, because I didn't watch Raw in 2016. I took a break with Stephanie, because when it became the Stephanie McMahon show, when I saw her in every angle, every segment, I was like, okay, I can't do this. But she hasn't been here most of the year. And I loved it. I love Kurt Angle. But she comes back. And what's the first thing she does? Makes Kurt Angle into that ass kisser like she does everybody else. Oh, I'm sorry, Steph. Okay, I'll get it together, Steph. I'm sorry, Steph. And he just looks like a sad little puppy. And then the next week he's on the phone and she still has him acting like a little bitch, Steven.
I mean, but you got to give her a pass now. At least the last couple weeks since Survivor Series, actually, you've seen her less and less and less. And recently, you've only seen her, I think once she came back and announced the Women's Royal Rumble. Yeah. But she's been gone. And
she probably came up with that idea. I'm not sure if she did. But I think that was a horrible segment. I think that took away from the characters involved. Not all the characters, but Absolution is supposed to be this dominating, evading fraction. And they're saying yes with her. That's stupid.
Outside of how the segment ended, she hasn't been around. I mean, are you happy that her presence is very diminished now?
I'm happy that I'm happy she wasn't there at all. I'm happy she's not on TV as much. I think that this is the thing that I tell you, Stephanie is actually talented. That's the part that really upsets me about her. She actually is good looking. She has great mic skills. She has star presence. She could cut a good promo. And she gets so much heat. She could really get a babyface over. I mean, can you believe this? This sounds silly. This actually sounds silly. Brie Bella was the most over babyface in the company at one point. It lasted a month. It only lasted a month. But she was able to get Brie Bella over as a top babyface in the company, and that caused
female babyface.
She was getting a bigger pop than John Cena, and the only person that got a bigger pop than her was probably Daniel Bryan. And I think Daniel was hurt during that that whole segment. But she was one of the best. She was getting the most pops that whole month. I can't think of a person who had a bigger pop than her that whole month. Is it because she didn't wrestle? She just came out there and it was doing stuff that was surprising people? Maybe. But she was getting the most pop. She was the most over babyface at that point, that whole month. And that was probably one of the best feuds of that year. Why? Because we want people to stand up to Stephanie. We want people to act like they got a backbone, act like I want to say balls, but like the females, don't do nothing. The men don't stand up to her. And this is the most I've seen.
What about Ronda Rousey? She got her comeuppance once.
Triple H gets the cup. This is the thing, Steven. Triple H takes Stephanie runs her mouth, and Triple H takes the bumps. I don't see that as comeuppance. She grabbed her arm. Oh, big whoop. She grabbed her arm. Triple H took the bump. She didn't take the bump. Triple H is the one that got knocked down, or she just grabbed Stephanie's arm a little bit, and then she was able to escape Ronda Rousey's whatever move that was that she had her in. I don't know if that was arm. I don't know what arm. What was that? What move was that? She just grabbed her arm, right?
Exactly.
Grabbed her arm.
And she stopped the slap. She was about to get slapped, and she stopped that.
Yeah, big whoop.
Hey, that's something. It's something.
Big whoop. And that's supposed to be the baddest. That was the baddest woman in the world at the time. This is the most, as far as current roster I've seen. AJ Lee talked stuff on Twitter and had a promo with Stephanie. She held her own. Vicky Guerrero threw Stephanie in some pudding.
Your throat.
Sasha Banks talked to her on Twitter. Now, What else happened? Who else benefited from Stephanie McMahon's character? I'll wait.
Triple H.
Of course he did. He didn't need her, but he benefited.
I'm like, Triple H became the greatest heel ever. And it started with Stephanie McMahon.
I'm not talking about before 2012, though. That's the thing. Stephanie McMahon in the early 2000s was good, and I love her as a GM. And what was that, 02, 03? 04? One of those years she was a good GM. I liked her as GM back then. It was the new character arc she took on where she feels like she has to look good. So she has to slap everybody, embarrass everybody. And anybody that shows any type of, like, you know, backbone or stands up to her, she gets pissed off behind the scenes. I mean, she damn near fired Dusty Rhodes. Just for putting his hands up so she could shut her mouth. Fired him. So that's what I'm telling you, Steven. That's why I don't like your character. And it's like, it's people that could actually benefit. Like, imagine if Bayley actually stood up to Stephanie McMahon. I guarantee you she probably wouldn't get booed right now. Sasha Banks actually put her in a bank statement one time. She'd probably be in a better spot. Or even Charlotte. That's supposed to be their cash cow. That's like the face of the women's division is Charlotte. And even Charlotte got shut down for no reason. It was absolutely no reason. If that segment never happened, that wouldn't affect the storyline at all. It would have been fine. They didn't add to the storyline. It just made Charlotte so weak and sorry compared to Stephanie. So, yeah, if you got anything else you want to add or go against Stephanie, that was my Stephanie McMahon rant. You know how I feel about her. If you have anything that you want to say to go against what I just said, let me know. And I'll leave it at that, because you know how I feel.
Okay, so, Cruiserweight division. Are you even interested in it?
I was never interested in the Cruiserweight division. I'm going to be honest with you. When I first heard about it, I was thinking, like, okay, maybe I didn't like get the concept of how the Cruiserweight was in WCW, but then I realized WWE tried that and it never worked. They did that in the Attitude Era. Even the greatest era of the WWE couldn't get the Cruiserweight division good because it was not as good as
I disagree.
WCW.
I mean, even in the Attitude Era, the Cruiserweight division had its moments.
In WWF?
In WWF.
Name a moment.
Matt Hardy. When Matt Hardy was Cruiserweight champ.
That wasn't the Attitude Era, Steven.
Well, should I say post-Attitude Era?
Yeah. Post-Attitude. And then that's when you brought all the guys from WCW to come to the WWE.
Matt Hardy was an Attitude Era guy. He debuted in the Attitude Era.
Cruiserweight division was cool with Rey Mysterio, Chavo Guerrero, the Dragon guy, and all those guys came in and was fighting into Jerry, and guys like that were fighting in the Cruiserweight.
Exactly. So they've done it right in the past. I mean, the issue that the Cruiserweight division had in the past was that they would care, and then they would stop caring. I mean, you had the light heavyweight division, and then all of a sudden, Gilbert is your champion as a joke. But right now, I mean, unfortunately, technically, they started the Cruiserweight division again. They started caring. Things got interesting when they brought in Neville.
Yeah. Then he left, and
now it's what I thought was going to be the joke period. They put the belt on Enzo, and I have to say, while the in-ring matches for the title aren't as great as they were with Neville, hopefully he comes back. But Enzo had brought more eyes to the division itself due to his mic skills. Yeah. I mean, but I guess you're still not interested.
No. This is the thing. This is what I'll say. I love that segment with Enzo and Neville. I'm just sad that it made Neville want to walk out on the company. But this is what I'll say is if they did things like that to make the Cruiserweight feel a little bit more. This is the thing. I don't see them as individuals. I think and the reason why Enzo feels so special is because he is an individual. Like, he has such a good personality, good mic skills, that you see him as a character. And I don't watch 205 Live. I don't think a lot of people do. And so maybe it's something I'm missing, but I look at them and I don't know too much about their individual characters to really care about them when they're in the ring. All I know is, it's the cruise. Oh, there goes purple ropes. Cruiserweight. Okay, time to go to the bathroom. That's really how I thought before Enzo got there. So if they were able to make, like, think about how WCW did things. Like, think about Chris Jericho as a cruiserweight and the stuff he was doing as cruiserweight champion, like the things like the list of the 1,000 hoes. Like, oh, you're the man with 1,000 hoes? I got 1,001. I'm going to read them off. Like, Chris Jericho has so much personality. So did Eddie. Ray had a little mystique about him. Like, they had people with individual personalities. And cruiserweights just feel like the cruiserweights. It doesn't feel like, oh, it was this person and that person. And it doesn't feel like that.
You don't like getting your PowerPoint presentations from Drew Gullick?
Drew Gullick? Yeah, I mean, he does some things. I just don't feel like he has enough personality for me to care.
Okay, how about this? And you know what? This is my thought. Probably that might save the division altogether. And more, actually, you know what? You're probably going to hate it.
Okay.
There's a guy on the roster right now. He weighs about 190 pounds.
Don't say Finn Balor.
Finn Balor.
Oh my God.
What if they move Finn Balor to 205 Live?
I would hate it. I would hate it. I would hate how they booked him. I feel like that would actually bring him down more. They already buried their cruiserweight division, because I don't feel like the Miz actually was shooting from his heart. I feel like they told him to say what he said about the cruiserweight division, talking about to Enzo, saying that the only reason why you got demoted to 205 Live is because writing didn't have nothing to do for you. Creative had nothing else to do for you, so you got demoted to 205 Live. That's what The Miz told Enzo.
I don't think that wasn't a bury for the division. What that statement was a bury to Enzo Amore himself. Because if you noticed, when he first got pushed down to 205 Live, he spent, the first month was him getting his butt kicked by the entire division. Braun Strowman, who wasn't even in the division, came out to destroy him. And then all of the cruiserweights did their finishing moves on him as well. But that was more so to demoralize Enzo Amore himself, not the division. Because even from there, the whole division from there even went to the division not liking Enzo Amore. Hell, the whole division had even been against Neville.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm telling you. You still gotta watch what you say. Like, for example, John Cena saying that Roman Reigns just be the old man with a bad hip. Yes, that was supposed to be demoralizing to Roman Reigns, but really, it shot down the Undertaker to describe him as an old man with a bad hip.
That's totally different though, because that actually. The statement directly went towards a single individual, and that statement diminished Undertaker as a person. The comment with Enzo Amore saying that he's been demoted to 205 isn't a burn on the physical abilities of anyone there. Their talent. It's not saying that those guys suck.
It's showing.
It acknowledged that this is interest in 205 Live might not be there,
and that's parts on the card. Like, no one from 205 Live is going to say, you know what, I'm a challenge like the Universal Champion. Like, no one from 205 Live is that credible. And Finn Balor at a point was, and he'd be credible enough to win a Royal Rumble. I can't think of anybody from 205 Live that can do that.
I gotta disagree with you.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is on 205 Live, you actually had two guys. Unfortunately, both of them left. And it's, that's probably the bigger issue with 205 Live and why I would say it would be good to move Finn Balor down there. Neville, who's a former Intercontinental Champion, and Austin Aries. You had both of those guys down there. And they could go up against the heavyweights.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine. And the reason why I'd say move Finn Balor down there isn't so much to say, okay, we're going to take Finn Balor and we're going to stick him in 205 Live and only have him wrestle the guys from 205 Live. I'm talking about move Finn Balor down to 205 Live. And pretty much what you do is you have him kind of spearhead this 205 Live uprising in the sense of, on 205 Live itself, you have them fight each other. on Raw, you have them fight. You can have some matches with them versus each other. You can also have the 205 guys, 5 guys, interact with the main roster. Kind of like the other day, you had the tag team match. And Cedric Alexander needed a tag team partner. Who came out? Goldust. Is Goldust on 205 Live? No. Is he a cruiserweight? More than likely not. And it gave them that. I mean, granted, Goldust isn't the biggest name. It's not going to put butts in seats or anything like that. But it was the guys from 205 Live interacting with someone from the main roster. And doing something like that, like say, hey, Finn Balor goes down, becomes champion, and he's like, you know what, guys? I'm the champion. This is my division. Not only do I want to see competition within my division, I want I want us to go out there and show that not only, yeah, I'm good in the division, but as a division, we're just as good, if not better than the other guys on the roster. Because to be honest with you, the size of the guys on 205 Live and the size of a lot of the guys on the main roster, that size difference isn't that great anymore. Yeah, you got Braun Strowman, who's big. You got some tall guys like Aiden English. Cesaro is pretty tall. But guys like Seth Rollins isn't that big. And it's funny because if you look at the size of the division, they called it 205. Back in the day, the cruiserweight division was 220. And the reason why they dropped that weight limit down to 205 from 220 is because a lot of the roster floats right around 220.
This is what I'll tell you. This is the difference, I think, with that. Like, for example, you say Matt Hardy, and I also remember Christian won a Cruiserweight Championship before. But they were given a platform, they were given mic time, and everything where you could still care about their character. Now, I'm not sure that if Finn Balor won the title, would they give him that same platform on Monday Night Raw? And 2, he was a universal champion.
And that's what would bring more credibility down to the division.
I'm more so worried about Finn Balor's credibility than I'm worried about the Cruiserweight Championship's credibility, to be honest with you. I honestly, a match like Enzo Amore versus Finn Balor is something I'm not interested in. And it's not like they established enough cruiserweights where it's like, oh yeah, he could fight Neville, he could fight Austin Aries, he could fight this person, he could fight Rey Mysterio. Like, I'm not interested in the new guys that they have. They're good workers, but I haven't seen enough of them to care about their work to see him feud with those guys.
Here's the thing, though. The division has to start somewhere, in the sense of if the division first started, you know who they got their credibility from?
Who?
Brian Kendrick. Didn't have a whole lot of credibility. So it started off small. Now, you had Brian Kendrick there. It didn't have a whole lot of credibility. So it kind of was there. It was where the Divas, back in the day, Divas matches were in the card, where it came out, oh, I'm going to go take a leak. Now, the time went on, they brought in Neville. When Neville came in, it's Neville. Has a established credibility. He's beaten some heavier guys. The interest in the division, at least when Neville was out there, went up some. Now, they didn't necessarily treat Neville with the respect that he deserved, but it definitely got a lot more interesting because it's Neville. His work is great. Now, then, you brought in Austin Aries, and things were actually looking good for the division because now you had Neville and you had Austin Aries, and you were starting to put some interest in that division. Through working with them, the more credibility that top person has, the credibility of the division starts to move up. Unfortunately, of course, Austin Aries left after creative had nothing to do for him, and Neville, once again, left as well because, there were things that he wasn't happy with. Now, you brought in Enzo Amore. Enzo Amore being brought in probably is part of the reason why Neville left. But what happened when they brought in Enzo Amore? Enzo Amore got a fan base. They love his mic skills. Guess what happened? The attention of the division went up some more.
Of course. And that was a great segment they did with them, too, with Enzo and Neville. That was a good segment.
So, as I've just shown, the better quality of the person that they bring in and the bigger fan base that they have, the more the division benefits. Now, you bring Finn Balor down there. Finn Balor has a lot of credibility. Former Universal Champion. It's Finn Balor. And Finn Balor can be used as that platform to elevate the division. Now, you don't have to have Finn Balor going out there every night wrestling in the 205 guys, because, yeah, in theory, that's going to diminish Finn Balor themselves. So, like I said, you bring Finn Balor down, that brings credibility to the division, and you have him kind of want to spearhead this move forward for the division.
Would you bring AJ Styles down then?
AJ Styles is on a totally different brand. AJ Styles also is not under 205. So he is actually heavier than the roster itself.
How big is AJ Styles?
220, 230. He actually has a little bit of weight to him.
Oh, for real? He looks so little.
So it's one of those things. I think, any guy that has the weight that's close to 205, you don't even necessarily have to throw him in there full term. Bring him in, let him wrestle. But I think the 205 live guys need to interact with the main roster. Hell, is it not shocking to you as many tag team matches you see week in and week out on Monday Night Raw, and dag on there, everything 205 does on Raw is a tag team match using that Teddy Long booking. Isn't it weird that there's no 205 tag teams? It's like why not?
They don't care about the division enough. They don't care. They don't do enough to get their characters over to have a tag team division on 205 Live. That's what I'm telling you. Is honestly, if I was them, they wouldn't have asked for credibility, establish people in NXT, because usually the people in NXT that are your champions, kind of little. Like, that's why they didn't have Braun Strowman be NXT champion, because it's kind of funny to see those guys have competitive matches with Braun Strowman, because those guys are really little once you compare them to the guys on the main roster. All the big guys get called up pretty fast.
Not true.
Okay.
The Authors of Pain are still in NXT.
I'll give you the Authors of Pain. How big are they?
Big as hell. Especially compared to the rest of the guys. And you know what, though? It proves what I said earlier, in the fact that having the 205 live guys interact with the main roster, despite the fact that the Authors of Pain are bigger than them. Like, look at Johnny Gunn. I can never say his last name, and I can never remember his name either. But they had matches, great matches. And despite the fact that they were massive, the Authors of Pains were, it still made them look good. And it increased, like Johnny, I can never say his name. Can you say it?
No.
But it made him look good. And it increased his credibility. Same thing with the current NXT champion.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. The Ascension was probably one of the most hyped up tag teams from NXT, and one of those reasons is because of NXT they look huge, but even next to the Miz, they look small. I think the Miz might be bigger than the bigger guy in their group. So that's why I'm saying that instead of maybe trying to have these guys come from NXT, lose to the main event guys, and just shuffle, bring some guys in from NXT, go to the Cruiserweight division and actually make an impact. Like, imagine if Tyler Breeze, I know the Cruiserweight wasn't around back then, I don't think, but had Tyler Breeze left and went up and went straight to win the Cruiserweight championship, I think he may have been in a better spot if they actually made him seem like a credible Cruiserweight champion and actually put him in credible programs. sometimes the slow build thing with people works better than to try to put him in NXT and just shoot him up to a place that y'all not sure that he's ready for. And when y'all find out he's not ready, y'all just stop caring about them. And that happens a lot.
Well, Tyler Breeze, even when they debuted Tyler Breeze, they didn't care about Tyler Breeze in his debut.
Triple H did,
but Triple H isn't running the main roster. Vince runs the main roster. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what Triple H
they beat Dolph Ziggler, and Dolph Ziggler still had a name with him when he beat Dolph Ziggler.
And Fandango beat Chris Jericho at WrestleMania. But the fact of the matter is that when they brought him up, they didn't care about him. The reason why they were brought up is just because. But just bringing them up and sticking them in NXT, that's not really the solution, because you know what? Guess who else came up from NXT? Austin Aries came up from NXT.
That had a lot to do with his heat and the direction. You have to have a plan with certain people.
Not at all. They brought him up and still didn't have a plan for him.
That's why I say you have to have a certain plan with people. You can't just stick them in there and not care about them. You just actually have good storytelling and let them go out there and have the matches, quality of matches that they're supposed to have, and they'll be fine.
Yeah, but bringing them up from
someone
NXT
like Tyler Breeze,
not going to solve it.
Here's the thing, like I said, those guys all don't have much about them that brings out their individual character. A character like Tyler Breeze, you have to notice him. Like you would know that he's different from everybody else. And I forgot his name. Rich, who's the guy from NXT, the black guy? I keep forgetting his name.
There's a couple. There's Cedric Alexander.
No, Cedric. Is that the flamboyant one from DC?
Oh, you talking about Velveteen Dream?
Velveteen Dream. If you bring him up on the Cruiserweight division, he would get a lot of attention if y'all use him right. Now, he might not, y'all might not want to put him over Enzo, because Enzo is a better heel than him right now. But Velveteen Dream is a guy who will get a lot of attention. Is he under 205?
I don't think so.
He look kind of small.
But yeah, with the NXT guys, it's kind of hard to tell, because as you said, nope, he is 227 according to Wikipedia, so he's too big.
He could come there. No, he could come there with the Christian gimmick. Remember when Christian was too big to be in the cruiserweight, so he was throwing up.
But that was to make 220. But it's one of those things where the cruiserweight division, if they want to save it. And once again, that's why I nominate Finn Balor. You're going to need a guy that people care about down there to bring attention to it.
Well, why don't you get an unknown and put him in a position that make people care about him? And that could happen.
Here's the problem.
If you put him in the right position.
When you stick somebody unknown in there, nobody cares. Nobody's going to care. For instance, granted, he's a big deal right now. Braun Strowman. Granted, you got on that Braun Strowman bandwagon at the beginning. When Braun Strowman came out and he was coming out begging, demanding for competition and everything else like that, the matches were short, fairly short. But I didn't give two squats about Braun Strowman. I was like, oh yeah, it's some jobbers. Braun Strowman didn't have a name. These guys he was fighting didn't have a name. I knew he was going to dominate, because if they don't announce your name before the match starts, you're going to lose. But no, I didn't care. Why? Because he wasn't beating up on anybody. Even hell, when he started fighting with Kalisto had a name, but Kalisto still didn't have a big name. So him beating up on Kalisto, didn't care. Braun Strowman beating up on Sami Zayn,
I loved it.
I didn't care.
Those were good matches.
They were good matches, but I didn't care. Okay. They weren't must see. They didn't garner the attention of, ooh, let me go and watch this. It didn't matter. Braun Strowman got the biggest jump up when he went out and he was beating up on Mark Henry and the Big Show. They were bigger names that had more name value to them. Mm-hmm. People started taking notice. Then they really took notice when he started whooping up on Roman Reigns.
Of course they did.
But as you notice, as the quality and the name value of the people that he fought went up, so did people's interest in Braun Strowman and what he was doing and where he was going.
Absolutely.
And that's what 205 Live needs. They need some people that have established credibility.
But listen to what you just said. You just proved my point. Braun Strowman, into a lot of people's mind, even though I thought he was great from the beginning, I'm the one person that I used to argue with people like, no, Braun Strowman's going to be okay. But he was a guy who was unknown. People didn't think he was a good wrestler. People thought that he was just another big guy that wasn't talented. Vince McMahon just pushed him because he's big. And when he was given the opportunity, they made a huge star in Braun Strowman. But they did things to make him feel special. Now, having Finn Balor go from being Universal Champion to go to the Cruiserweight, it might elevate the Cruiserweight division, but I definitely think it discredits him. Someone like Sami Zayn, I would rather go to the Cruiserweight division than Finn Balor. I'd rather him just turn back face and go back to the Cruiserweight division than Finn Balor go down there. Because at least Sami Zayn, at least that'll be his first belt. At least like Sami Zayn hasn't shown that he believed that he's a main eventer. I think that they showed like pieces, like sparks of them believing in Finn Balor. I don't see none of that with Sami Zayn. So that's what I'm saying.
I don't know. Sami Zayn is currently in the main event on SmackDown. He is one of their top people.
He's a partner.
But you know what? With Sami Zayn, that might be a good option B. How about you move both of them down there?
I still hated if Finn Balor went down there, Stephen. That's what I'm telling you. I would still hate it if he went down there. And that's what I'm telling you. I don't want him to go down there. He's a guy that I want to main event WrestleMania. I don't want him fighting in the Cruiserweight. And if he doesn't main event WrestleMania, I would rather him fight The Miz at WrestleMania.
Why can't he do both? When I'm saying moving Finn Balor down there to 205, I'm not saying move Finn Balor down there and that's the only place you're going to see. You got to tune in to 205 Live to watch Finn Balor. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying have Finn Balor down there to bring some credibility to the division. He can still fight people on the main roster. He can still be in the main event. What I'm saying is you use Finn Balor to elevate the division as a whole.
The way they booked the division is the counterparts are the people that's under 205. Is people that's on that show. So for him to take the title and then say, "Oh, well, I'm too good for my counterparts. I'm gonna fight some real competition." Then that's gonna take away from them. I mean, that's what you're saying, though.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you bring him down, and you have him spearhead the whole division, bring the division up, and have the whole entire division cross over. And the fact that they fight each other. Yeah, they have this title that's for people that's 205 and under. But you still having them compete against the main roster. So you have 205 tag teams that are fighting the Bar, that are fighting the Usos. You have people that are 205 in teams interacting with the bigger roster saying, you know what? We can go just as good, just as hard as you guys. We can go one-on-one. Hell, you could have Finn Balor be Cruiserweight champion and go up and fight AJ Styles, WWE champion, and Finn Balor win.
That's just going to bring credibility to him, and we're not going to take him seriously losing or he's not. This is the thing. You as much as you used to talk about John Cena, like not feeling like he had any threats. There were people John Cena could go against that you really felt like it was a threat to him. Now, if Finn Balor went to 205 Live, there is absolutely, positively no reason to invest in the matches because no one's going to beat him. And if they do, then they're stupid for booking that nonsense. That's what I'm telling you. Who's going to beat him? Enzo Amore beating Finn Balor. Do you believe that?
No, I don't. But that's right now. That's throwing that out there right now.
Never.
For instance, okay, let's take Brock Lesnar. I know you hate part-time workers.
I don't hate them.
But what did they do over the last year with Brock Lesnar? You know what they did? They built up the WWE heavyweight universal title division under Brock Lesnar. Because think about it. Going into 2017, forget Goldberg. Who on the roster could beat Brock Lesnar? You had Roman Reigns that could probably believably beat Brock Lesnar, right?
And John Cena.
And John Cena, Super Cena. So you got two guys on an entire roster that could potentially beat him.
Well, it's because of booking more so than actual.
But we're talking about booking right now.
If you're talking
so
about booking,
going
that's
into
fine.
it, who could beat Brock Lesnar?
Roman Reigns and John Cena.
That's it. Now, over 2017, you had the division get built up. Now, when it got time for it, do you feel like Samoa Joe could have beaten Brock Lesnar after he went through his feud?
Before the match I did, I feel like Braun Strowman, he could. I feel like John Cena still might. I feel like Roman Reigns could. So they built some new stars. I'm not mad at them for that.
And they built new stars utilizing a champion that at first there was no competition for. So you get Finn Balor down there. Finn Balor's the champion. And you take these guys. And since Finn Balor is on the same level as the guys on the main roster, you then take those guys with no name, and have them interacting with guys on the regular roster. And as some of them get up there, and say, hell, you got Finn Balor as champion, and you have Cedric Alexander. Cedric Alexander beats The Miz. Right? Mm-hmm. Brings more credibility to Cedric Alexander, makes him a little bit more competition for Finn Balor. And you work that way through. It's gonna be slow, but it's gonna take a while. It's not gonna be instant. Finn Balor's the champion. Yay, everybody's credible. No. Same thing with Neville. When Neville became champion, I didn't think that anybody on the roster really was on Neville's level. The only person that I felt roster-wise that was on Neville's level was Austin Aries, and that was it.
Yeah.
But it's through those interactions that you just build those people up. Just like with Enzo Amore there as champion, as time has gone on and with them interacting with Enzo Amore, the guys on the roster have become a little bit more interesting. They've gotten a little more personality. And it's because they had a person that's down there that was already really entertaining.
That Enzo, like I said, Enzo helped them as far as the personality work, but I still don't think they're interesting that much as singles competitors. But something that might be cool though. I know it might be dumb, but maybe they could just try it. If they really had to, have Finn Balor on 205 Live, and then have the Demon in the main event. So they solve your problem, and Vince McMahon will have the problem of, the Demon is fun, but I don't like Finn Balor. Finn Balor is boring. So since Finn Balor is boring, send him to 205 Live, but have the Demon actually go to the main event. If they did that, then I'll leave it alone. Actually separate the two. Act like they're two totally different people.
Okay, I can run with that. All right, so we're running out of time. Real quick. Rusev,
okay.
AJ Styles, Jinder Mahal, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Bobby Roode, and Baron Corbin. Which one of those SmackDown stars do you think had the best year in 2017?
Okay, Baron Corbin is gone. So best year or best breakout year?
Best year.
Okay, so MVP.
Yeah, no, not MVP, just the best year on SmackDown. Who had the best year?
Okay, well, I don't think it's fair to put Styles in with the rest of these guys if you're talking about the best year. But Jinder, I don't think had the best year because his title reign was a flop. Kevin Owens, I feel like he was, I don't know, he just didn't click with Kevin this year. I think he should have been in the main event. I know he was a U.S. champion. He was in a fun feud with AJ Styles, but I wouldn't put him over AJ Styles. Sami Zayn didn't do anything, and Bobby Roode wasn't on SmackDown long enough, so it has to be AJ Styles. But if you're talking about just who I had the most fun with, who I feel like even elevated their game even more, I have to say Rusev. I love Rusev this year. For one, I feel like he doesn't get credit enough as a worker, and his personality for the most part. Like, Rusev is actually really funny. I'll never forget that tweet he said about Lana having marks on her knees. I think that's hilarious. I love the Rusev Day thing. And honestly, I think he's the guy that really should be a main eventer. And the thing that's crazy is I never in a million years thought a foreign heel can also play a lovable babyface and still be considered like credible as a top guy. But Rusev is just that charismatic. He could do that.
Bret Hart was technically a foreign heel. He's a Canadian.
He's from America.
But you know what? For me, Rusev has been entertaining. I still think that Kevin Owens had the best year on SmackDown. Granted, he's not champion. As far as MVP goes on SmackDown, yeah, I'd give it to AJ Styles. But as far as the whole year goes, I'd say Kevin Owens.
Okay.
I mean, he had a feud he got to beat the brakes off of Vince McMahon. He had the feud with Shane. He still has the ongoing feud with Shane. You know, I felt like they did the most with him. And Jinder Mahal coming in as a close second, despite the fact that everybody said that his title reign was a flop. I think a lot of it had to do with the matchups that he did. Randy Orton was boring. Nakamura was kind of short, and I don't put all of that on Jinder Mahal.
What about his promos?
It's coming. It's a lot better.
How about when he was champion?
It was a lot better than it was in 2016. It was a lot better than when he was a 3-man band member.
Of course.
So I give him a close second. He's come a long way.
Okay.
I mean, never in a million years, going, you know, January 2017, did you think that Jinder Mahal would be champion?
Absolutely not.
Now, last one. In the WWE, 2017, who was the MVP of the company?
In my opinion, I would have to be a tie. But I'm going to just go off my bias. I love them both. I love Braun Strowman. And I feel like this year, in 2017, has been fantastic for him. They created a megastar in Braun Strowman. But as far as just a surprise for me, and a person who reinvented themselves a lot, where it's like you could tell no one had a plan for him, but he just surprised so many people. And like Braun Strowman, he didn't have people hating his work. They just weren't sold on him. I'm going to have to go with The Miz. Here's a guy who had a WrestleMania that people consider the worst of all time. A guy that people were saying that, oh, it's a wrap for him. He shouldn't even wrestle no more. He should try to be an announcer. To being one of the most entertaining heels and one of the most entertaining parts of the show. So I would have to go with The Miz. And just off one promo alone, he became one of the top heels in the company, the top heel in the company, in my opinion. So, and he's really done a lot of entertaining stuff over the years. So I'll say The Miz. Who's yours?
I couldn't agree with you more. I give it to The Miz. He's come a long way over the years. And this, 2017, you definitely saw his best work. But hey, that's all the time that we have this week. Thanks for joining us on another episode of VGR Lockdown. Remember, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter,